We were already live. No, there it is.
Hi, everybody. Simone Tellini here with POAC Autism Services. I'm here with Dr. Bobby Gallagher again today for another session of questions for the BCBA. And please, when you join us, if you do have a question that's related to what we're talking about, or maybe even something a little bit different, feel free to type it in to the comments section there. Ask a question, you can make a comment, you can make a suggestion for another topic. Usually the way we do this is we talk about a particular topic that we've chosen. Today it's skills my child needs. And we can open it up to your questions. You add to our conversation. And so please feel free to do that. Use that comment section and post and join us in this. Also, you can email me at simone@poac.net or info@poac.net, and I'll put a banner up in a few minutes or towards the end with that information. And you can let us know if there's a specific topic that you want to hear about. And what we're finding is there's really a couple things that keep coming up. And one of them is now that people are immersed in their children's education, they're starting to see some things that may be inappropriate. Maybe some of the work is too easy or too difficult, and a lot of parents are having questions about those issues and how they should be addressed in the IEP and so forth. And we're going to handle that with a webinar, free webinar that we're doing on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. And the information is on our Facebook page as well as on our website, poac.net, under the events section. And the other thing is a lot of anxiety, and a lot of people are having issues with their kids, maybe exhibiting some behaviors and anxiety and that type of thing. And part of that, we've been talking about that every day that we've been on, and some of those things are going to be addressed in today's session as well, which is skills my child needs. And this was something that Bobby and I have been talking about for a while. There's a wonderful curriculum called Essential for Living, and it was mainly developed to address needs for people on the spectrum that are maybe more moderately or severely, profoundly affected. But, and this is a big but, there's some of those skills can be boiled down into something called the Essential 8. There's these 8 skills that everybody across the spectrum and everybody that walks around on earth, frankly, needs these skills, needs to develop them to mastery. And I kind of feel like if your child does have a good grasp on these skills, that maybe it can help mitigate and help them with some of the anxieties they're feeling, not only in daily life, but especially what we're going through now. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to hand it over to you, Dr. Gallagher. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Simone. So yeah, I think one of the challenges that we have for a lot of our children right now is maybe families are realizing what their child doesn't know, right? Or might not even understand what it is that they need to know. Mm-hmm. And so so one of the challenges that we have, though, is some of the stuff we talk about today may really be more related to what some of the IEP goals or skills that we're going to have to put in place for our child to make sure that they are able to do these things in the future that we probably didn't realize we're missing from now, right? So although we're going to go over these, and I hope that we can maybe help you to learn how to teach some of these to your children. Some of them are also going to be ideas for you to bring to that IEP meeting the next time you have one, and make sure that your child has these skills. So the next time we go through something like this, they'll be better off. But also, as Simone said, this is for skills that your child needs just to be a part of a family community and just to be a part of, the environment that they live in. And so this is the Essential for Living is the overall assessment. It covers more than just the Essential 8 that we're going to talk about today. And so I highly recommend it, especially for our teachers and our schools and all, to kind of get. It's not an overly expensive assessment tool to be able to use, and it has a variety of different areas that it focuses on, including one that I really like, which is how to assess a child to determine which augmentative communication system they should be using. And so that would be really important for a lot of people. We won't get into that today. But today we're really just going to talk about these essential 8 skills that Dr. McGreevy talks to all of us about in saying, what does my child need to know in order to be accepted into the community, in order to be included in an inclusive environment? That's another setting that we often want our children involved in. And maybe sometimes we put them in there without these skills, and then only to be told that maybe they're not successful in that setting. And so if we could assess these skills to see, they might be better off. And it's not always about verbal skills. And that's what I think is, maybe to some, they look at the verbal skills as a reason why somebody is able to or not able to be included in an environment. And that's actually not the case. But I'll go through them. So making requests, waiting, accepting removals, and we're going to go through each of these individually to kind of just discuss what these kind of mean, right? But making requests is pretty simple. To get their needs met, can they make requests either using verbal, sign, or any augmentative device? And can they do it to a level of fluency where they are understood? But when we say make requests, not just requests for items that I want, right? So I can request, I want juice, I want coffee, I want to go outside, I'd really like to go to a restaurant right now. I can make all of these requests to you, but can I also make requests for things to stop? Right? Can I make requests to say, I can't do this anymore. I absolutely have to have a break. I want, I can't, I need something to just stop happening. And that's a really important skill for somebody to have, as opposed to behavior challenging behavior that they may have in order to make that request. So can they make requests to get their needs met without having to engage in challenging behavior? Because what we know is challenging behavior is communication, but it's obviously not going to get them sort of accepted into the typical community or into an inclusive setting at all. Instead, that's going to really hinder their world. The next one is waiting, and how important this really is. And think about COVID-19, right? We're all waiting. We're all in this state right now of waiting for our favorite restaurant to open. We're all in a state of waiting for, just the parks to open, depending on where you live. I know here around us, the boardwalks are closed. You can't even walk on them. And not that any of the stores are open, but just environments that we're all kind of waiting for. So we often teach individuals with developmental disabilities how to wait by using some sort of visual sign of like a wait card or this, kind of drawing here to say that they have to wait. And then we put a timer out and we ask them to wait till they can have something that's preferred, right? Some preferred activity. And it's often an awkward way to present it, because rarely is the item that I absolutely want sitting right here in front of me and I'm being told to wait for it. It's almost an unnatural waiting process, right? Never are potato chips in a bowl directly in front of me that I can't eat them. And somebody's asking, so we're building up what the attempt is to build up a tolerance to waiting. The problem is that that's never a true scenario to what waiting really is. And so what we need to look at is, are they able to wait even for, to engage in activities maybe that are non-preferred? Can you wait in a waiting room with a doctor? Right, for the doctor, can you wait? And now this is a non-preferred time in our life, right? It's a waiting, as we're all waiting for something. But at the same time, at no time when I'm waiting am I doing nothing. How many of you have been to the doctor's office and you're in the waiting room, and the first thing that everybody does as soon as they sit down is they bust out a phone and they start doing something? So when we're teaching that waiting skill to individuals with developmental disabilities, it's this odd, weird silence and I've never sat next to another person and not spoken to them while that they're the only thing there, for me to engage with for 5 minutes straight or 10 minutes straight or whatever it is while they hold over this bowl of chips for me. So I think when we talk about waiting in this way, what Dr. McGreevy really means is, can the child wait for an extended period of time for both preferred activities or or to escape non-preferred activities, to get out of that doctor's office without engaging in problem behavior. And if they cannot, this is a skill that needs to be taught and taught to fluency, taught well. And when we say to fluency, meaning that they're able to do it under all conditions in all situations that they can do it. So the other one is accepting removals, making transitions, sharing, and taking turns. And so accepting that something has to go away, that's preferred. And when we say any of these, it should have the caveat at the end of without engaging in challenging behaviors. Can they accept removals without engaging in challenging behaviors? Can they make transitions without engaging in challenging behaviors? All of these are things that they need to learn how to do. And because sharing and taking turns isn't just about playing a game, right? It's also about being at home and who has access to the television, and being able to accept that it's not always my turn to have it, or sharing has a lot of other components to it, especially even in a classroom. Some classrooms I've been in, the students don't have necessarily an assigned seat, but they may have to share their seat with a class that came in before them because the classes rotate. And are they able to understand that and to do that? And sometimes they have a really hard time with it. My stuff was here, my stuff, my things. And can they accept that removal of preferred activities? And making transitions is a big one for a lot of our children when we're asking them to leave those preferred or to remove those preferred activities and go to something that's less preferred. And when we're making those transitions, are we making those transitions without behaviors, but are we, as the adults in their world, are we providing them with a level of reinforcement for having made those transitions well enough to get to the other side of something? So the reasons that some of these things here are important lead to some of the bigger things that we all have to do. So if I have to make a transition during a fire drill, right? If I can't make a transition from a preferred activity to just go out to the playground, and it's all planned out and it's on this picture activity schedule that somebody has for me, what am I going to do when there's an emergency situation? And so again, when I say to fluency, can your child do this without all of these levels of support that they need? Can they do it automatically just because we ask them to, and they understand and trust that the reason that the adult is asking them to do this is because it's important, right? And if they can't, then we have a really hard time, especially in the area of safety. And completing 10 consecutive brief acquired tasks. And one of the reasons that this has come up recently and why it's so important is that our children are really just not able to occupy their time. In this crazy downtime that we have now, we're asking children to do things and do them in an environment, in a setting that they've not had to do them before. And we want them to stay busy. So we're handing them schoolwork, or we're handing them worksheets that our teachers have asked us to ask them to do. And maybe they are capable of doing one or two in the environment that it's being presented in now, because in the past, the only thing they've been asked to do is, a couple of things. Now we're saying, can they do 10? We need our children to be able to do consecutive tasks, one after the other, without token economy systems or reinforcers being out there and all this sort of artificial reinforcement that we provide to them. That's important when they're learning the skill. It's important when they're acquiring the skill, but there has to come a point when some of this stuff fades, and that's not always necessarily happening, or at least fades to at the end of all of these skills that they do, these 10 consecutive skills. So now we have children, unfortunately, who have been home for a really long time, whose schedules are completely off, and who are unable to occupy themselves for a length of time, which of course is driving some of us parents crazy, right? That I can't think of anything else to do with you right now. Like, go make yourself busy. But how do I make myself busy if I don't know how to do that? And if my entire day, for some of maybe our younger children who have more intensive programs, my entire day has previously been planned out for me. And all along the way, I'm receiving reinforcement and I'm receiving, verbal input from somebody, and it's constant. And now you're asking me to occupy myself without all of that. So as you go back to your schools and talk to people, I would really just say, make sure that when you ask about IEP goals and all, that we're working on this, that we're saying, I really need my child to learn how to do all of the steps in the bathroom without me having to say, wash your hands, dry your hands, but they can wash their hands and brush their teeth and get dressed and do all in one motion of, under the demand of, we need to get ready. And that get ready should evoke multiple things that we have to do, and not just they wash their hands, they come out, they wait for the next thing, they go in, they get dressed, they wait for the next thing. These aren't the way that we would typically do things, but they become almost typical for us as parents, that becomes a part of the makeup of our day. We just do that automatically, and we need to decrease that amount. Okay.
You might want to put that or we'll have you pull that off.
Oops. Hold on one second. Sorry, I got my computer. All right, so accepting no. Accepting no is so important in life. Saying no is so important in life as well. But accepting no is really important. And so all of the behavioral protocols that I've ever been taught in the past are probably just going to go right out the window now. And that is, I was told that when I taught a child to accept no, that I also offered them other choices, right? So it's like, no, you can't have that coffee right now, but you could have a cup of tea or a glass of milk, right? And those were the things. So I was always supposed to offer these alternative choices. Well, here we are. It's COVID-19, and I have no alternative choices for you. What am I supposed to offer you at this particular moment? So I'm telling you no to the restaurant that you love more than anything because it closed, but it closed down. There's no alternative restaurant that matches that criteria that you want, or whatever it is. Or I have to say no, just that you're not going to school, and maybe you really love going to school. There's not another school option right now. And so we've almost done our children a disservice through this, just kind of getting them to accept other things by not having a hard no. It's a hard no. No, you just can't have it right now. And I'm sure many of us, that was certainly my father's answer to no, right? It was like, it's a no. No, it's a no. But my point really being is that we've not done them well by this. So no really does mean no, or no really should mean no. And that's going to be another whole skill to teach somebody, that you absolutely just, not only can you not have this, I'm not bargaining with you over these other things, and in that, I don't have anything comparable. Certainly, no, you can't go to school, but yes, you can go to your bedroom. That's a little bit, but they're not comparable in that way. And so I feel for many of the children that, and families that I myself have actually, assisted in all of this, and saying that we probably should be doing a continuation of this, accepting no for those children that had such a hard time. Yeah. The next one is following directions related to health and safety. And isn't this, here Dr. McGreevy's work is from some time ago, but here we are in the midst of a health and safety crisis. And can the child just simply follow the directions of something that is a health and safety related? So can they follow directions to go wash your hands? And so this is really broken down. The next three are broken down in different ways. Can they follow the directions to go do it? So will they, in the midst of a fire drill, will they follow the direction to leave the building? Will they follow the direction to take a bath, right? So health and safety, will they follow directions right now? Who knows what's going to come out of this? And it might be a skill we might have to teach some folks, but will they wear rubber gloves when they go out into the community? Are we all going to start wearing masks? And if so, is it something that maybe we start to look at to teach our children to just tolerate some of these things that might be coming up soon in their lives? We don't know, but we do know that washing their hands is really important. We do know that staying 6 feet away from somebody else is really important. And so we've all been trying to teach, our children personal space for some time now, who have been really close. And that personal space is longer than arm's length anymore. Right? It's even further now than it was before.
And these are all, like you're pointing out, these are all things that are really right now so important. But you have to consider this is a situation that's temporary, that's going to go away, and we'll all get back to normal. But at some point, kids are going to graduate and they're going to be in the real world. And these are skills, all of them, that are going to be necessary, just to get through day to day and to be successful.
Yes.
So it's beyond just even what's happening now.
And I think for me too, a lot of the things that we accepted as, subpar completion of some of these tasks have just been okay because our children's worlds have, maybe as they've become adults, have become so limited. So It's like, look, if he puts his hands under the water and he goes like this, I'm happy, right? We kind of get to that point. Well, now I'm not happy. Right. And now I'm not happy. So for those families up and coming, remember this, like, now we don't accept this minimal level of effort from some of your children on things just because they're willing to kind of go through the process, but they actually have to do it to that level of fluency that we're talking about. Right.
For sure.
So the other one is completing daily living skills. So when we said the first one, when we just said following directions for related health and safety, now we're saying completing it. This is what we're talking about. Can they complete the skill to the way that it's supposed to be done? So my child can get dressed, but their shirt's on always backwards. Right? That's kind of not. So then if you have to undo something and redo it for them, they're not completing it on their own. They're not doing it to a level of fluency that they should be doing it at. They're always going to require somebody else to help them. And when it comes to daily living skills, it's really important that our children are as independent as possible as they go through life and as they get older, because the more they depend on other people, a couple of things, but one, the more vulnerable they are to any level of abuse, right? Because we're putting somebody next to them all the time. And so that we're hoping that person's always going to have a good day. That's just not the case, right? Because it's not the case for us. We sometimes get annoyed at the simplest of things that our children do. So, but also for some, we know there's high rates of abuse and sexual assault in our community. By having somebody who requires their underwear to be put on them, we're putting them in a situation where they're more vulnerable. So can they actually complete these tasks and complete them without the assistance of other people? And going back to what we previously stated, can they do 10 of them in a row without needing somebody else to kind of help them through it, and to help them to get to it? So for this one, it's like, are your hands really clean? Have you really done what you needed to do? I know some people sing the birthday song or the ABC song or whatever it is, but are we doing it in the places where it needs to get done and helping them to stay safe? Because I also know that a lot of our children still eat with their hands. They eat a lot of finger foods because that's the preference. So there's a lot of French fries and chicken nuggets in this community. So we are, again, putting them at risk because they're using their hands so much. Are we asking them to be able to complete these other tasks of washing their hands to a level of fluency? And for those who can they tolerate situations related to health and safety? And I will tell you that this is one that I know we say this all the time, Simone, when we're doing these presentations, that we're just as guilty at times of the challenges that we present and that we hope that we can help people with. But can they tolerate situations related to health and safety? Like, will they take their medication? And if they won't take their medication, who's working on that? Because I know that we can't give them medication every single day if that's not what they need. And maybe even, they can't always take liquids because something is time released and it has to be in pill form. We can work on those things. I know some people have worked on it using Tic Tacs. If your child swallows a Tic Tac, it's not going to hurt them. So we have to practice it for doing certain things. But can they tolerate these other things like braces, or can they tolerate something like a cast? And I can remember from years back, Austin broke this part of his hand. He had jumped over a fence, and because he also eloped, right? So there's all these things that happen. And he broke this part of his hand, and he went to the doctor, and they put pins in his hand and they put a cast on it. And when we left the building, or as we were leaving, I had actually said to him, the doctor, he's going to get that off. And the doctor said, oh, no, he's not. We have to cut these off with a saw or whatever. And I said, okay, I'm telling you, he's going to get it off. And I went home, and within minutes of him waking up from the anesthesia and becoming more awake, he pulled off the cast and handed it to the staff person that was at the home with us at the time, and just said no, and it's like, no, here you go, you can have this. And went back to the doctor the next, with the pins exposed and everything, went back to the doctor the next day, and they put a cast on, that kind of went up further up his arm. That didn't take 24 hours to get off, So then the next one was like, the arm was like this was like this. I mean, there's this contraption all over this thing. Maybe total, Austin had a cast on 7 days with the 3 different types of casts that he had on. And the last one, the doctor, we went to him, and the doctor just said, well, he's obviously not going to wear it. And he just took the pins, pulled them out, and said, like, that's it. He's not going to be, a baseball player, or something like that, so he's never going to be a baseball player. He won't be able to throw and it's just kind of like, the challenge that I have with that is something that I think you and I have talked about. And that is, our children's care is not the same as another child's because of their lack of tolerating these situations. So their medical care may not be what it should be because they're unwilling to tolerate being manipulated by somebody, or having a cast on, or doing anything like that, right? They're unable to tolerate these situations. And so this is something that can be worked on and should be worked on as we progress. And so when you're thinking about your child at their next IEP meeting, think about the things that they can't tolerate that are a health issue. Right?
Looks like someone's asking a question. What age and grade should this be implemented? Their child is 5 and in kindergarten.
Oh, I think you're at that age that that it should be implemented. So when I say tolerating a situation, look, if your child's not on medication, then it's hard for us to say we're going to teach them how to take medication. But at the same time, we're going to teach them to follow through with things that we know they're going to have to tolerate in life. And what I mean by that is, you're going to set a precedent or a trust almost with your child that, look, when I ask you to do something, I'm asking you to do something because it's for your good, right? That's kind of what we tell our typical children, that you have to do this because it's for your own good. But our children on the spectrum and those with developmental disabilities are really challenged by accepting that level of trust with us. And so I don't know if the mom who's asking that has a particular situation, again, because I'm not going to say start giving your child Tic Tacs and having them swallow pills, but it's not the worst idea. Do you know what I mean? Because at some point, nearly everybody has a headache or something, So medication isn't always just because they have a seizure disorder or just because they have something. Sometimes medications are so infrequent that that's even a bigger problem that we have, right?
Well, I would think, with all the things you're talking about, all these essential 8, I would be asking myself as a parent, what does need to be worked on here? And regardless of what age they are, you kind of have to clear the deck and make some space to work on these issues, because they're really important.
Well, health and safety is an area. So, we've been talking about for years now the area of sexuality that's missing, but our children aren't included in health classes often, or don't have health. And so, although sexuality is a part of health class at some point in our children's lives, health class is offered to children throughout. So what are the things that help to make us healthy, and right down to food choices, right? So other children hear about healthy foods versus non-healthy foods in a way through gym and health classes that our children aren't exposed to at all. And that's an issue that we have, is that it's also about the exposure to the topics, right? So what keeps people healthy about not smoking, not doing, and granted, I don't think that my 2 children on the autism spectrum are ever going to be smokers or drinkers, because I control so much of their environment because of the level of severity. But some of us have children who are going to be included in environments, right? And where they're going to be exposed to people who might ask them to do things they shouldn't do. And so are they learning about health and safety the same way that their peers are learning about it? And so they have enough understanding to stay safe, in those settings. And so it really does depend. It's going to be individualized as to what everybody's going to need, but some of them are basic. You know, right now, washing our hands is probably one of the most basic things that we all need to be able to do to a level of completion that keeps us safe. And that's something that I'm sure many parents are finding right now, that it's like, put the soap on, put the hands under the water, and there's never been, you know, nothing's been scrubbed or rubbed or whatever. That they go through the steps, but they don't do it to a level of completion. Right. Okay.
So that we went through all 8. I wasn't counting.
Yes, we did. Yep, sorry. Yes, we did. We went through all 8. We absolutely
If anybody else has a question, please ask. We're on for another minute or two, so if you do have a question. But again, I would just say, I would really advocate for people to ask themselves if their kids have these skills, because I really feel like it can alleviate so much of the anxiety if you're able to accept no, if you're able to make these transitions, if you're able to ask for the things you want, need, or the things that you want to get away from.
Right. And if you want them in those inclusive environments, which is the, you know, the goal for special needs in general, right, or special education, is to get somebody out of these restrictive environments and into the least restrictive setting, the child has to have these 8 skills in order to be there. It's almost like a little checklist. Can they do all of this in order to be successful in those environments? And that's a big thing, is I think what we're using to assess a child's ability to be in those settings is usually more academic based. And, you know, you don't need academics to be socially acceptable, right? You don't need, but you do need this, or something as simple as, you know, I know this has come up before, but something as simple as nasal hygiene, right?
Right.
If you can't blow your nose and wipe your nose and, you know, and be clean, you will not be accepted in a lot of places. And I don't care if you're 5 years old or 25 years old or 55 years old. If you don't know how to do that skill, it really is something that, you know, the world gets turned off by, right? So, and that's a health and safety one. To be able to blow your nose and to be able to respond to having blown my nose appropriately, you know, by throwing the tissues out, washing my hands, all health and safety related. And something that simple will keep you from being involved with other people, because culturally and socially, that's a behavior that we just don't tolerate.
For sure.
Yeah. So.
Okay, well, that brings us just about to the end for today. I did put up the little banner there. Visit us at poac.net. In the events tab, we do have the information about that upcoming webinar on Tuesday. And Dr. Gallagher will also be a co-presenter along with Hillary Freeman, special needs attorney. So a lot of your questions can be answered during that webinar, which is going to be really great. And we also have a lot of online events, live events like this one. We're putting in a Zumba one that's going to start next week. So we're trying to get something for the kids to do and tune into every day, in addition to our daily story time with Mr. Gary. So visit us on there. Bobby will be back tomorrow for another session of questions for the BCBA. And we hope that you'll come with some questions and reach out to us, info@poac.net, if you want to let us know. Not when we're live, you know, if you want to let us know in advance, and we'll pick up one of your topics or questions.
Support group,
and we have, there's the online support group taking place tonight as well. And again, you can find that information either on our Facebook page in the events section, or on poac.net in the events tab. Okay. Thanks so much, Bobby. We will see everybody again tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.